Alright folks, so here it is. How do you know when you're enlightened? Well, you don't have to worry about that one because life will continually show you in many wonderful, colourful ways that you're not enlightened. And all those times when life shows you that you're not enlightened, they are actually opportunities to become more enlightened, if that makes sense. Enlightenment is really, how enlightened we are is really sort of directly proportionate to how easily our buttons are pushed and in how many different situations our buttons can be pushed and we can be thrown out of balance. So anytime we're thrown out of balance, that is a reminder that we're not enlightened, and that is something that is actually pushing a button that we have not actually enlightened yet or balanced. And so the amount of times we actually feel ourselves going into reaction mode, being thrown out of balance, that is us not being enlightened. And whenever we rebalance that and dissolve that button, then that is another step towards enlightenment. That's my definition of it anyway. You may have your own point of view on it, and that's perfectly okay. So to give you an example right now, today I went into the post office and I was to pick up a couple of parcels which haven't been delivered for a couple of weeks. Post in Spain isn't great at the best of times, and heading away on a journey, a big trip tomorrow, and so I really needed this parcel because it had my new boots in it that I really needed for this hiking trip that we're going to be doing. So wasn't there, so first of all went into the post office, waited in the queue, got to the front of the queue, feeling okay, and showed the woman the tracking number. She said, no, that tracking number doesn't show up on my computer, there's nothing more I can do. I said, okay, well, can you go and look in the back room? And I could actually see the room through the door where all the parcels were. Would have taken her a minute to walk in and just scan the parcels and see if my parcel was there. And she said, no. I said, well, why not? She says, well, that's not my job. I need a tracking number. Without a tracking number, I'm not going in there. So this is something that pushes my buttons, or did push my buttons in the past, hopefully I've dissolved that one right now, is rules for the sake of rules. Rules for the sake of rules, big button pusher for me. So I'm standing there really wanting my boots, and she's given me a really good lesson by sitting there very smug saying, no, that's not part of my job. And I said, well, whether it's part of your job or not, it would only take you a minute to go around and have a quick look and come back out, and it would really help me out. No, that's not part of my job. Neither is a queue. So, huge button pusher there. Victoria's with me, and she's maybe more enlightened than me in this respect, and she actually said thank you to the woman. She said thank you, and which infuriated me even more that she was thanking this woman for this, and we walked out and I was just thrown out of balance, and it pushed my button and it threw me out of balance, and it showed me how unenlightened I am. And when that happens, it's very humbling. It's very humbling for this tiny thing, this silly little thing in life where this woman just wouldn't get me my boots, even though it actually turned out in the end my boots weren't even there. This little thing, so we went outside, and it took me about 7, 8, maybe 9 minutes to actually get myself back into balance, because I have just simple processes that will get me back into balance. Once I realized that, okay, that's a lesson for me. There's a lesson for me. That woman is actually giving me a lesson. And actually realizing that, you know, that's just where her consciousness is at. You know, she doesn't mean anything, there's nothing personal in that. She's not being personal with me. That's just where her level of consciousness is at. And for her, she's perfectly right in what she was doing. And from her point of view, she was perfectly right what she was doing, because that's where her level of consciousness is at. And once you can realize that, whatever people do, it's because that's where their level of consciousness is at. That's how they've been programmed, and it's never anything personal. And so once I can go through that little process and see that, and then rebalance myself, rebalance the perceptions and everything, and realize that something good's going to come out of this. I don't know what, but that's helpful for me. Once I realize that, then back in balance again. So our level of enlightenment. If we're just go off and meditate in a cave in a mountain for years, we will actually never really fully grasp our level of enlightenment, because there's nothing there to push our buttons. There's nothing there. It's only when we come back into the real world, as they call it, and go about daily life and business, and get caught up in relationships and things like that. That's when we'll see how enlightened we are. When we go and live with our family for a while, our parents or whatever, then we sort of see our level of enlightenment, because there's going to be all these things that start pushing our buttons, and suddenly that completely balanced person we were meditating in that cave, thinking how enlightened we were, suddenly we're getting our buttons pushed by little silly things in daily life. But then the trick is to increasing our enlightenment. You may have another word for this, and it doesn't have to be enlightenment. Increasing our enlightenment or self-activation or whatever. By just being able to go through these processes, by putting ourselves in situations that do actually push our buttons, and being able to balance ourselves and stay centered in those situations. And then once we do that a number of times, then suddenly we've overcome that. And that's what life is. It's overcoming these things, and that's how we'll develop, whether it's development or taking the development away and actually being our true selves, and not being affected by anything. So maybe when we're completely enlightened, nothing will affect us at all. Or if it does affect us, we'll be able to balance it in moments, whatever it is. Maybe that is when we have truly reached enlightenment. And I'm not talking about apathy, because apathy is when we don't care. When we don't care and all whatever's going on around us, we just don't care about it. That's apathy. But enlightenment would be when we truly do care, when we care deeply, but still aren't thrown off balance by these things. So it's an ever onward journey. I've never actually met anyone that is enlightened, and I've done a lot of traveling on all 6 continents all around the world, and with different masters. Never met anyone that's enlightened yet. So I look forward to maybe one day meeting someone that's enlightened. And so let me know what you think about that. Enlightenment, it's an interesting one. That's my experience, that's my insight on enlightenment, how to become enlightened, how to become more enlightened. For some people, just the word enlightenment is a button pusher. So maybe this is pushing your buttons. You think enlightenment, that's pushing my buttons, yeah? So maybe that's something that you need to dissolve. Another one's money, talking about money and wealth and finances. That pushes a lot of people's buttons. But again, that's an opportunity to dissolve that and balance that one out. Okay, so whatever that it is for you, let me know what pushes your buttons, and then go about seeing if you can balance that, dissolve that, because that's all it's there for. It's there for you to balance your perceptions around it and stay centered in every and any situation. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.